Hey everyone, Sniper here. Well, after 4 separate attempts to get a promo pack ship, I have finally got one. Now I don't do a lot, I do about 30 boxes each time, but this time around I was able to get it. So I'm going to unpack it now, put it together and have a run in it and show you guys. So let's go through the key specifications. Okay, so this particular ship is Starfleet only. It is a tier 6 and available only through the Enterprise J promotion R&D promotion box. Required rank obviously is above level 40, and your hull strength will scale up as you get to level 60, and then it's boosted on top of that by hull capacity in your skill tree and any other hull capacity boosts that may be on your deflector or on consoles and that sort of thing. Shield modifier is a really interesting one. It's 1.225. That is approaching Science ship shield modifiers. Like I said before, 4-4 weapons layout. Unusual for a cruiser to only have 3 device slots, but you can't have it all, and I accept that. Bridge officer stations. Now I have seen mixed reaction to this, and I have to be honest, the build that I've done is very light on tactical abilities, pretty much focuses on psi, a bit of temporal and engineering abilities, but you get a lieutenant tactical slot, a lieutenant engineering slot, one commander engineering / temporal operative slot, a lieutenant psi, and a lieutenant commander universal with command. Consoles, 4 TAC, 4 engineering, 3 science. Very small turn rate of 5 degrees per second, and a very small impulse modifier, or well, heavily hit impulse modifier of 0.13 and an inertia of 20. The bonus to subsystems is just a flat 5 across all 4. Like I mentioned before, the console that comes with it, and the innate passive abilities of the energy distributor and the gravitic lance. You can load dual cannons on this ship. It has 2 hangar bays, and these hangar bays are loaded with Cestus frigates. The Starship Mastery package, it's a bit of a mix between different types of cruisers and carriers. So your tier 1 is an absorbing plating, which is a damage resistance increase to physical and kinetic damage, which is good to help you defend against temporal abilities, particularly in PvP. Quick deployment to get your frigates out quickly. Armoured hull, which is just an increase to max HP. Rapid repairs, which is hull generation. And of course you do have that Starship trait of repair mode. Only 2 cruiser commands, strategic maneuvering and the weapons and systems efficiency. So there's no threat or shield cruiser command. Well, it's big, and I'm not talking like Scimitar's a big ship and Vengeance is a big ship. They're not big anymore. This is big. Check out this Sovereign, which is by no means a small ship itself, very close to my ship. And a Vengeance, which is a big ship, is dwarfed by this, even with my ship, in further perspective. And the Defiant looks like it's just parked above the Starbase. It could probably fly up the exhaust pipe. So yes, it's big. Don't believe me about the animations, hey? Check this out. Okay, and finally the pets. What's the comparison between the three levels of them? Now, I still maintain that you should always skip over the advanced level of pets, go straight from the base to the elite because of the cost. You don't need to take baby steps to get to elite, just save up the required amount and just go straight there. So the basic pets, they have 3-4 weapons. So it's got an array, a beam bank, a torp, and it's got an array in the rear. Abilities: fire at will 1, the scratch the paint pilot ability. Channel deconstruction is a huge one. That's a temporal ability that applies shield penetrating physical damage and also builds entropy on a target. So if I've got a temporal ability that can do extra damage on targets with entropy, that's very beneficial. The advanced, same weapons layout. Go to fire at will 2. Scratch the paint still there, channel deconstruction, and I'm assuming that's channel deconstruction 1. You go to high yield 2 and you get emergency power to weapons 1. And let's just have a look at elite. Okay, so elite, same weapons, beam, fire at will 2, scratch the paint, channel deconstruction, high yield 2, and emergency power to weapons 1. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that is exactly the same as the advanced. One moment. Yeah, so the advanced and elite pets seem to be exactly the same. So whether that is in reality, don't know. All that we can do as players is go off the tooltip. So yeah, that's another thing that Cryptic need to look at clarifying for us. Well, sort of. It is radiation damage. It does shoot out like a beam, but you can only fire it once every minute or so, a couple minutes. Yeah, it's and finally onto the console. The console does have a passive directed energy weapons buff and turn rate buff. On top of that, it is a point blank area of effect to allies, transferring or amplifying the natural power increase that being in a team with a ship like this has. It boosts it. So basically, to an ally within 5 kilometers, I activate this console, your hard cap on all your subsystems will be lifted from 125 to 135 for 10 seconds. And you'll have an additional 15 power to every subsystem for the same duration, and your EPS or net power transfer rate will be increased by 150% over that same time frame. To the person who activates that ability, you reduce the recharge time of gravitic lance by 0.3% every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. You gain one cycled energy encounter for 60 seconds for each ally within 5 kilometers. So that obviously boosts your counter from getting back to max. And finally, the trait, repair mode. So while this Starship trait is slotted and you suffer more than 10% of your hit points as damage in a 5-second period, you will gain 1 repair mode counter. Upon receiving your 3rd repair mode counter, you will immediately become disabled. Gain a very high increase in damage resistance, a large amount of temporary hit points, and you will gain a very powerful heal over time effect for the duration of the repair mode. So how's that summarized into numbers? According to the tooltip, after taking a large amount of damage, gain 1 repair mode counter for 120 seconds. May occur once every 3 seconds. On the 3rd repair mode counter, enter repair mode, so to self, plus 10,000 hit points every half a second for 5 seconds. Plus 500 all damage bonus resistance rating increase for 5 seconds. Now that is really powerful, because that is that's bonus damage resist, and that is not hit as hard by the diminishing returns, which is damage resistance rating. So that could potentially almost make you immune for 5 seconds. Then you will also get 50,000 temporary hit points for 5 seconds, but you will be disabled, which probably means you won't be able to activate any other abilities, and you'll be basically a rock in space for those 5 seconds. It'll be interesting to test to see whether any of our disabled counters that are traits will undo that straight away. We'll have to test. And then at the end of it, it removes all the repair mode counters, and the trait goes into cooldown for 90 seconds. Now with this ability, okay, you can see that it's a different, it's a big number. It's 54,000. When I first put this ship together, it was only 35 or so thousand. Now, I don't think it gets affected too much by aux power, although I could be wrong. Yeah, it does get affected by aux power now. It gets affected by this radiation damage buff. That's dropped about 4,000 there. It is also affected by part gens. This is pretty much inconsistent with other radiation damage abilities. For example, chemosite. Yeah, so chemo 1, you can see here the radiation damage is 1214. If I take the counter command console off, that drops it to 905. If I take an exotic damage buff off, it's still 1214. So that is radiation damage acting differently, but labeled the same. Okay, this is not good for consistency. It's also, I'm suspecting, the next branch of damage that Cryptic are potentially going to be heading into. I actually thought for a while it was going to be electrical damage, based solely on the way that this trait performs with jam sensors, but it could also be radiation. So there isn't much that buffs radiation damage resist. In fact, we can't even see what our damage resist is for radiation damage, or physical or electrical. I hear potentially that physical is going to get added to the list, potentially around the space rebalance. Yeah, but that leaves still radiation. So what we potentially have here is another physical damage scenario where it's being buffed by part gems, not much until recently has been able to buff you resist to it, and it could be temporal abilities all over again with a new set of stuff. So Cryptic, if this is an oversight or if this is a mistake, just some consistency, because there isn't much radiation damage in this game. It has never been buffed by part gens. Why start now?